All right. Good morning, everybody. Thank you all for watching. So excited to have you guys here today. And this morning, we have a very special guest. We have Gillian Williams with us, who is a human design expert. And I could not be more excited to have her on to share a little bit more about what human design is, about all the benefits, because this is something that everybody should be aware of. Because it can help them bring even more potentially intention, right? And consciousness into their life. And it's a tool that they can use should they want to. So, Gillian, welcome to the show. We are so excited to have you here today.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm pumped to be here.
I am too. This is a long time coming. And for those people that may not know, I shared a little bit of this on Instagram yesterday. And if you didn't see it, Gillian and I have known each other now for, I think we're coming up on a year since we have done our inner voice facilitator training together.
Crazy.
I know it is crazy.
Longest, shortest time. I'm like, is it only a year?
So true. So true. So, for some people that are going to be watching and listening to this show, this might be the first time, right, that they hear about human design. But for us, you actually introduced me to human design when we were going through our training together. So have been learning about this from you and other people for the past year. And I'm just really excited to talk with you, for you to share all of this stuff with everybody out in the world, right? So they know it's an option that's available.
Love it. Yeah, everybody needs to know. I always say that I wish your human design body graph was given to you with your birth certificate. It's like a shortcut, like a permission slip to just be exactly who you were born to be.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Awesome. So let's dive right in. And I think first and foremost, tell us a little bit about yourself and how the heck you even stumbled across human design and when that was.
Yeah, it was like 3 or 4 years ago, maybe. And I was listening to spiritual podcasts. Like I was already trying to live a more intentional life. And all of a sudden, like I just heard human design on like several different places. And I was like, wow, this seems like more than a coincidence. Like it wasn't everywhere. It wasn't trending by any means, but it was like definitely in my frame of reference. It was in my sphere. And I heard somebody getting a reading and I was like, whoa, this is really cool. I want to know this kind of stuff about me. Like, this is what I want to know about me. Yeah. And so I went home, I found where to put in all my birth information and I did it. And then I didn't understand any of it because it was like, it was a whole new language. And it was like, you can't just look at it and have it make sense to you intuitively. It's not an intuitive system. So I was like fascinated at that point. I was like, okay, well, now I need to know everything there is to know about this. Yeah. But I let it kind of go for a while and I was like reading a little bit about it here and there, but I didn't really, it was a very busy time in my life. So I wasn't like committed to learning about it really. But then when things settled down more, I was like, okay, this hasn't gone away. I'm still really interested. So I took a course and got certified to be a reader through Jenna Zoe, who is amazing. She kind of does like a more modern interpretation of human design. Yeah. Even though it was only discovered, I'll say, in like the 80s. Yeah. So it's still pretty new. But yeah, so that's how I kind of got into it. And then ever since then, I was like, the whole world needs to know about this. Like,
yeah. Yeah. So it sounds like that's your mission now, right? Like you found it, you got certified, you've seen the power in it. And now for you, it's, to your point, like, how can we tell everybody if they don't get it at birth with their birth certificate, how can we start, right? To like give people the information that can help them as they're living their life.
Exactly. And yeah. It is kind of my mission. And also, I think combining it with the inner voice facilitation that you and I both do is like, how can I really convince people, like any way that I can convince people to listen to their body and listen to themselves instead of like experts or, conventional wisdom or this life plan that is like put forth by society that like clearly doesn't work for everybody.
Yeah.
So like, how can we bring people home to themselves? And like, really, that's the mission, and human design is a vehicle to get there, I think.
Yeah, I love that. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. To your point, right? Like it's really easy to get wrapped up in like, you're supposed to do this, you're supposed to do that, get the money, get the house, get the wedding, everything. And that is great. But to your point, like knowing that like we have control over that. And ultimately, right, like go after what you want versus what maybe you're told to do. Right. And that's so empowering and inspiring. And I love that and your mission that you're sent out to do. Yeah. So I think that's a great segue into like what is human design, right? People on Instagram, I did a poll prior to this, right? Because I had posted about my profile type, and we'll get into the different profile types. And I asked the community and said, do you know anything about human design? Most people still don't, believe it or not. And I know we do, right? And we kind of like talk about this stuff a lot, but for those listening and watching today, what is human design?
So, such a great question. Human design is, like we were saying, kind of a system or a way to understand your energy within your body, but also your energy in your aura, and how energies between two people or two, many people work together in our world, and how you can do things easier, like with the energy that you're naturally born with, that you naturally have access to every day. What's your easiest path? How can you align your life with intention? How can you manifest the things that you want to see in your world, in the world? What's the path of least resistance?
Yeah.
And I mean, that we're living in a world with energy, like everything down to atoms and cells, and the basic, pieces of our world are all energy.
Yeah.
So if we can understand our own specific energy and our impact on the world, then obviously like life is going to be a little bit easier for us.
Yeah, totally. Totally. Now, right. Like you talked about your energy. So like, how do you get like a human design, like reading? Like, how does that happen? If somebody wanted to understand like their human design.
Yeah. So there are awesome resources available now. Like my teacher, Jenna Zoe, if you go to her website, myhumandesign.com, you can get videos on every part of your body graph. So to pull your own body graph, you can go to her website, put in all of your birth information. You need your time of birth, or as close as you can approximate it, your place of birth, and your day of birth. And then you kind of get this body graph that I said, it's like, you can't really tell anything just from looking at it. Yeah. So you need to kind of like find supplementary material, but Jenna has created all of these videos, and you can pay for some and kind of like hodgepodge a reading together for yourself, or you can find somebody like me who will analyze your chart and then tell you like the most basic things to know, and also the most important and impactful energies in your chart. And there's quite a few of us now. There's a lot of readers out there. So find somebody that you really resonate with, like anything else.
Yeah. That's great. So what we'll do is we will link out, like, thank you for sharing that resource. We'll link out so that if somebody's interested to know, like, what is their body chart, right? Like they can put in all that information and they can get that. And then obviously we'll link to you as well. Cause like you said, you're an amazing resource that can help them interpret this, right? And what this might mean for them. But I'm curious, and some people might be thinking about this, we talk about the energies and all of this. How is human design either similar or different than something like astrology? Because that's what comes to mind for me.
Okay. Love this question. So human design it's based on like a couple of different, I don't know if you want to call them like esoteric systems, and astrology is one of them. So it's based on astrology, it's based on a chakra system, the I Ching, and Kabbalah, which is like a Jewish mysticism. So it kind of combines all of these things and builds on them in a different kind of way. So the astrology being a part of it, it does take into account like the time of your birth and the place of your birth, because it is what planets are igniting energy in your body.
Yeah.
If, for lack of a better, I think that's the simplest way to explain it. So it's similar in that way. Like there are a lot of kind of generalizations that you can make about the different types, but the way that it differs, I think, is that astrology is known for generalities, and it's known for kind of like these assumptions that we make, or you know, just kind of broad statements that maybe could apply to anybody.
Yeah.
And there's nothing that you can do to like change it or act on it. It's mostly just awareness.
Yep.
Like astrological information. Human design is so specific, and it really is an experiment of embodiment. So you're meant to like use it in the world and see how, you know, it impacts your daily interactions, see how it impacts how you engage with your work. It's really something that you're supposed to do.
Right. Yeah. And you're spot on. I mean, we'll get into this, right, as we like continue to talk here, but we'll talk about like even our own human design and how, as we've started to embody it more, like in ourselves, and especially what you've seen, like in your clients, like how it really is very specific. And like, you can take this, and the more you start to integrate it into your life, like it just completely unfolds, and it's crazy what happens. Like it's absolutely crazy in the best possible way. It's like, oh wow, yeah, like life really can flow, and it can be that easy if I follow what I'm meant to do, right? And that is the chart. That is the chart you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it gives you also like a pause. It's like it gives you a moment to say, oh, I don't need to analyze these things anymore. I don't need to understand all of these things about me that I've been, you know, told are wrong, or told that I should improve. You know, a lot of people in the self-improvement space, or like self-help, if you want to say that, are told a lot of times that they should work on something, when like, what happens if you just embrace it?
Right.
And
Yeah.
it's okay that people are different.
Yeah. I love that. Embrace it. I think the other thing that comes to mind too is like, when you get your chart, it like gives you permission to like be you, almost is exactly how I felt. And it sounds like that resonates for you and your clients. Is like, literally, I remember reading my chart for the first time, and you took me through it, and I was like, oh my God, this is why like I get lit up in these situations, or also why maybe I dread some situations. Like literally, it is that specific, and it is that resonating for you, because you're right. Based on all of this, like this is what you're here to do and meant to do, right? And it's, we were talking about this prior to going live, is like permission, but then surrendering to allow that to happen. And when you allow that to happen, like, I mean, talk about the flow and just the creation and passion that comes out of you, rather than forcing to be someone or in something that honestly, you're literally, your energies are not meant to do. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just
Yep.
recognize and accept that that's somebody else's role, and then you don't have to worry about it anymore. So
Yeah.
all that free time that you were overthinking and worrying about things that aren't your job, that you can refocus those things, and that time that you're now given back onto things that are your job and are aligned with your purpose. Love it.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. So, all right. So people go to this website, they get the information, like you said, literally, I think it's only like a handful of things you need to get your chart, you know, first name, last name, you know, date of birth, I think also location.
Mhm.
And this chart comes out. It's like, take people through like, what the heck is this chart first and foremost? And then we can go into maybe some of the different pieces of it.
Yeah. So I'm looking at your chart right now, and it's a chart. It's like a system connection, like flow between 9 different energy centers. And some of those centers are filled in, lit up, and we call that defined. And some of those centers are white, and we call that undefined or open. People use those terms interchangeably. There is a slight difference, but it's fine if we use them interchangeably. It's like, nuances. Nobody's going to get mad about it. So it's all these centers are interconnected, and then the way that they're interconnected determines what your energy type is. And I think that's the best place for people to start, is to learn about their energy type.
Yeah.
So there's 5 different energy types, and they all kind of work together to form, like, when people say it takes all kinds to make the world go round, or whatever the saying is, it's very that, like, there's these different types of energy that all work together to form a complete picture. It's kind of like this idea that we're all puzzle pieces of each other.
Yeah. So tell us about those types. So 5 types. So I guess first and foremost, like, what the heck are they? And then we can go into maybe a little bit about like we can use me as the guinea pig, right? You've got my chart up, and we can talk about specifically what mine is and what that looks like and how it shows up. Sure.
So the first type is a generator. And I say it's the first type because it's probably the most common on the planet right now.
Yeah.
And a generator, I'm a generator, so we'll use me as the example for that. Yeah. Generators are meant to live in response to the energies around them and decide, depending on your internal authority, like your internal decision-making system. Yeah. You decide, generators do, about what lights them up and makes them really excited and gives them more energy, or what feels like a drain on their energy and isn't really exciting. Then you go forward, you trace what lights you up, you keep following what lights you up, what gets you excited, what gets your like energy flowing and your blood pumping. Yeah. And that is what gets you into alignment. So generators are like the busy bees, we're the doers. We love process. We love like doing the thing. And that's where my Instagram handle comes from, actually. Gillian does, because I'm always doing something.
Oh, I love that. I didn't realize that was part of your handle, and that's why it was there. That's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And then there's manifestors. So generators live in response. Manifestors are here to initiate. They're here to start stuff and see what they want to happen really manifest into the world. So they are meant to follow their urges. Whenever they get an urge, it kind of feels like they're unstoppable. They have like a really powerful energy that pushes forward and gets through all of these obstacles so that they can see what they want happen in the world. Yeah. Now, they need to get other people. They have to inform other people about what they're doing and what they want to see happen, so that other types can jump on their train and like say, oh yeah, that vision, I'm aligned with that vision. I want to do that. Yeah. So generators can hop on a manifestor train and kind of see the process through, because once manifestors start something, they don't tend to always get excited by the same thing. They're supposed to wait for another urge. Yeah. So they're constantly like starting things and not really meant to finish things. So that's like, that kind of hints at a piece of conditioning where everybody in the world tells you that you're supposed to finish everything that you start. Not true for everybody.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And we'll get into it. 100% resonates for me as we start to get into my chart as well. Yes. Yeah.
Because you're a manifesting generator, which is a hybrid between the first 2 types that we talked about. Yep. So it's one of the more complex types, but you are meant to find what lights you up and also follow your urges. So you are the type that has the most energy on the entire planet.
If people haven't realized yet, right? Like, and that's what I mean. Like we talked about at the beginning, right? Like I totally realize that. And like, again, seeing it in the chart, just having you explain it gives you some of that like validity, that permission, right? That like, oh, that's literally like, that's why I am the way I am. Like I was born that way. So yeah, it makes sense. All right. Yeah. So generator, manifestor, manifesting generator. What are the last 2?
The last 2 are projector and a reflector. Reflectors are the most rare. They have no centers defined in their chart. They may have a few little pieces of energy, but they don't have any other centers really lit up and defined, meaning they don't have consistent access to their own energy at all.
Got it.
So they reflect the people around them. They absorb everything, all of the energy that the people around them are giving. And then people tend to really love them because they look like a mirror.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
So they're
Yeah.
reflecting all the energy that's around them, but their challenge and the conditioning that comes up most for them is that they feel like they're supposed to have an identity, like they're supposed to commit to all of this energy that they don't naturally have. So reflectors are really meant to kind of just be a mirror for the world, and their whole life is just being where they are in the moment and not judging themselves at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Projectors, they are similar in that they don't create their own energy, but they do have some centers defined.
Yep.
Projectors are known for having like a really interesting way of seeing things because they have so few centers defined. They're very, very wise. Same with reflectors, but projectors are meant to then share their wisdom and insight with other people when they're ready to hear it. So projectors have to wait for an invitation to share what they see.
That's got to be both powerful and challenging. Maybe I could
100%.
imagine. Yeah.
And because of the conditioning that our society puts on us, it's like, make what you want to happen. Like, just, you can do it,
Right. Yeah. And like just the overall urgency, right? Like
Yeah.
say what you want to say right now, like get it out and then on to the next thing. And for them, they have it all, but it's waiting for the right time. Like timing, it sounds like timing is everything for that type.
100%. And they don't have enough energy most of the time to do something by themselves.
Yeah.
They're really wonderful. It's really wonderful when projectors and generator types can partner together.
Yeah.
Because a projector will say, I see what you're doing and here's how we could make it better. And generators are like, oh my God, thank you. I was wasting so much time. It's distracting me from what I really want to do. And projectors are like, I can tell.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. Well, I think it just, I guess for everybody listening, first and foremost, like as you go through those types, I'm sure everybody is like, oh my God, that is totally me. Or, oh my gosh, like that is like my spouse or my partner or my best friend. Right. And I think it's interesting because you can see those not only in yourself, but in other people. And then that starts to bring into like what we talked about at the beginning is like the dynamics between the relationships. Right. So like, not only is this really cool to pull your own chart to learn more about you, but like there's also a lot of power in doing this with other people and understanding their chart, like to maximize your relationships, to understand each other's why and where they're coming from as well.
Yeah. And I totally agree with you. And all I would say is make sure that you actually do pull their chart so because a lot of us are living how we think we're supposed to versus how we were designed to. So for example, when projectors work in a corporate environment or when people with undefined roots are working on tight deadlines for a long period of time, they get exhausted, they might get sick. Like I know people who don't have a defined throat, but they're constantly speaking and sharing, and they get bronchitis every spring or like every winter because they just need rest.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of ways.
Gives me the chills. Like I get the chills like hearing you just say that, right? Because it's like, that's why. And that's real, like they weren't meant to do that. And literally your body is telling you that you weren't,
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like when, I think another great thing about human design is that it gives a lot of reference to these platitudes that we hear, like, listen to your body. It's like, okay, but how do I actually do that? Yeah. And that's one of the ways is like challenging yourself to say, am I doing this because I feel like I should? Or am I doing this because I have an urge or I have a desire? Is it really lighting me up? Or do I feel like now's the time, So yeah, that's just one of the things. So anyway, just make sure that you know their human design type before you assume, because a lot of people aren't living the way that they're designed to live.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I love that not living the way they're designed to live. Like, that's just beautiful how you say it. Like, regardless of whether you believe in human design or not, right? Like, just that powerful statement, honestly, like, are you living the way you were designed to live, or the way that you want to live, right? Like,
Yeah,
even just that is like, whew, like, that's one of those like stopping powerful moments, like, for people to really think about. And I think the beauty of that too is like, some people might be sitting here as they hear that and be like, oh my God, I'm not sure. Or like, oh shit, I haven't acted on that little inner voice, gut instinct, right? And it's like, that's okay, because like literally right now you have the opportunity to like go pull your chart if you want, or just go do something that does light you up. You know what I mean? Like, don't get down on yourself. Just know that you still have time to create it. Every day is an opportunity for you to create what you want.
absolutely. Could not have said it better myself. It's never, ever too late. And, you know, like you said, whether or not you believe in human design, I often feel like my clients, I'm not telling them anything that they don't already intuitively know. So if
Yeah.
you have an intuition about something you feel like you want to do, or you feel like it's part of your purpose, but you're not sure why, act on it, see what happens,
Yeah.
experiment, play with your life. You don't need anybody to tell you how you're designed to live
Yeah.
except for you.
Yeah. 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 It's it's just really refreshing to hear you say that, right? Like, play with your life, like, have some fun, experiment. I don't think enough people do that, to be honest, right? Like, and especially I feel like, right, like, you get older, you're supposed to like be a certain way, and like, and it's like, it's okay to still have fun, and you should have fun. Like, we're humans, like, like, we tend to, I think, put a lot of pressure on ourselves, right? Like, you got to do this, you got to make this much money, like, oh my gosh, like, I'm not following that path. And like, what I'm hearing you say, and like, hopefully everybody takes away from this, is like, go freaking have some fun. Like, we're not guaranteed tomorrow. So like, make today as awesome and epic as you can. And like, there's always going to be something, there's always going to be something.
100%. And let me say, like, this is in my chart, this fun, it's the gate of like childlike joy. So I'm really supposed to be like fascinated and playing all the time.
Yeah.
It's something that I've been struggling with because I was told from a very young age that I needed to be serious. And now I'm like, well, I don't care. I don't really care about that.
Yeah. Yeah. And in fact, you're just like, actually, like, you told me that, but like, I'm actually like, literally wasn't born to be that way. Like, I
Right.
was born to be the complete opposite. I was actually born to play, and I was
Yeah.
born to like tap into that creativity and like allow that inner child to like come out.
Exactly. And so I'm
Yeah.
still learning what that looks like for me.
Yeah.
And if financial spreadsheets and figuring out how you can be the most wealthy person by the end of your life, if that's fun for you, do it. Amazing. Like,
Yeah.
spend your time that way. If that's playful for you,
Right.
I have no judgment to that.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
looks different for me. And that's why this world is such a beautiful place, because we're all able to act on our own version of that energy.
Yeah, totally. Totally. All right. So you took us through the 5 types. And I know we just went a little bit on a tangent, but it was a really important tangent. I love like what we just said, because I think it resonate for everybody. So I'm a manifesting generator, right? One of those types. Remind me again, what type are you?
I'm a regular generator.
A regular generator. I love it. I love it. So tell me, like, and you just kind of went there, but like, how have you used this in your life, right? And how have you seen your clients use it as well?
Yeah. So the biggest impacts for me are, I have an undefined heart center. And so all of my life, and so do you, by the way, I'm looking at your chart now. Yours is actually wide open. Um,
I love it. I love it.
and so my biggest struggle so far in my life has been figuring out my self-worth and like, what am I really here to do? Like, how do I prove that I'm like living life right, or that I'm doing well enough?
Yeah.
And it really just happened in the past couple of years when I found my human design and I realized people with open or undefined hearts, that means that they were born with nothing to prove.
Yeah.
So me constantly looking for something to prove, complete waste of my energy.
Yeah, totally. Totally. And that's like, we're meant to, right? Like, that's what everybody says, like, what's your path? Where are you going? Where are you going to school? What are you going to do? Right? Like, and it's like, actually, it's okay not to know. And it's okay to play and have fun.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I'm good enough. I'm a good enough human because I'm here. That's the proof that I'm okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You just being you is the most beautiful thing. Like, there doesn't, like, literally, gang, like, listening to this, like, it doesn't have to get more complicated than that. Like, just be you. Like, and that's gorgeous. And you're like adding a ton of value in this world. You know what I mean?
100%. And
Yeah.
so like, so there are some people who do have something to prove in this lifetime. Like my husband, for example, he has a defined heart, but it looks authentic to him. When he's trying, people say, wow, I can't believe how much he's applying himself. I really admire that. Where when I like really try hard at something, people are like, why don't you relax?
Yeah.
So that's like the difference in the energetics, because people can tell that it's not authentic to me.
Yeah.
And then I'm supposed to just be a little bit more free spirited and laissez-faire about things, where like Lindsay, my husband, is meant to prove this, prove whatever his mission is on the planet, and like apply himself to things and put his whole heart into things and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So the other two things that have really opened up my eyes from human design are how human design views fear.
Oh, let's go there. Let's talk about that. Because fear, right? Like, fear's a big thing. And I honestly believe, especially what I've seen, like with coaching in my own life and coaching other people, like, fear holds you back from so much, right?
Yeah.
And you're so, like, we are capable of so much, but it's like fear of not good enough, fear of failure, fear of not being perfect, right? Like, there's so much that is all wrapped around fear. So, like, if you don't mind, let's go there and talk about that, because I think this will be huge for everybody listening.
I would love to. This is like one of the things that I love so much sharing about human design. I'm getting chills now, actually.
Yeah.
But you're right. It does hold people back. And the way that human design talks about fear is, it is another center in the chart. It's your spleen. And it talks about fear and like survival instincts. Same kind of energy, right? Like, so if you have a defined spleen, you have an undefined spleen. I have a defined spleen.
Yeah.
Me, I have what they call like the fear of the future and fear of responsibility. So to me, the fear of responsibility or the fear of failure, they feel the same as, if I fail, then I die. Like, that is it. It feels the same. It is so scary to me. It feels like a threat to my existence, right?
Yeah. Like, super heavy, right? Like, yeah.
And like overwhelming, all consuming. It's a consistent energy. Like, it's there every day. At different levels, of course, but it's, I don't have clarity around it. All I know is that it's scary.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's the unknown. You don't know, like, it is like, there's not safety in that, because you don't know what will happen. Right. Yeah.
So undefined centers, they tell us where we have a little bit of wisdom and objectivity. Where can I see both sides of a story? So you have an undefined spleen, which means that you also have the fear of responsibility, for example, but you know that it's not life and death.
Yeah.
Know that it's not a threat, and that fear is a natural experience for every human to have. And it kind of passes. It goes in ebbs and flows. Like, some days it feels really, really scary, and some days it feels a little bit scary, but not going to hold me back.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I learn from people like you, when you reflect back to me, like those kinds of opinions or those kinds of ways to see the world, perspectives. I'm like, oh, she's right. I'm not that scared today. I can take action today. I'm not going to die.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, it's so true. Like, And it's really fascinating. Like that's a really good example too of like our dynamics of our charts and how you can play with them, right? To help you, because you're right. Like, and it's funny, like even saying this, because this is literally my chart is like, I get it. Like I'm fucking scared of a lot of things. A lot of people are. And you got to remember for people listening and watching, like literally that is how we were born, right? Like as humans, like we have that instinct, right? Fight, flight, freeze. Like that is just how our brains work. And it's just starting to understand that, right? And saying like, okay, like fear is there for a reason. Like fear is there's good in fear. I think a lot of people go fear, oh, right? But it's actually like, and this is my duality, I think, of my chart of like, acknowledge it and like embrace it and be like, thank you for being here, right? Because it is creating safety, but also the challenge there, and exactly what you just said is like, just watch when fear holds you back, right? Because that's the biggest thing. And that's what I see. And that's why I love coaching people, is because there is safety in fear, right? And that's the beauty about it. And like, how do you start to chip away and say like, you know what, this is a big, scary unknown, but how can I be safe in just the first step of it, right? Like break your fears down, get very specific and understand like, where is it coming from? And how can we start to like look at that differently or start to take a different action, right? That might produce a different result for you.
100%. Okay. You just proved why you are such a good person to be able to coach on this topic, because, and by the way, your chart can tell you what kind of coach would be like a great way for you to be. You're excellent at moving people through worthiness concerns, fears, time concerns like deadlines, or stuff like related to urgency. You're very good at coaching people through those because you don't have that energy yourself. You're not going to add to their fears.
Yeah.
You're going to help them see that the fear is a wave that comes and it goes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's part of life. It's part of life. And I think that's the biggest thing too, is like, again, I hate to make it or break it, but like fear is always going to be in your life. Like every single emotion, happiness, anger, fear, like, I think that's the biggest thing is like, they're always going to be there. Because I see a lot of people being like, I just have to be happy all the time, happy. And it's like, that's great, but that's not reality. So like embrace that you're literally going to be on this journey for life. And it's just, how do you start to manage those, right? Like, how do you manage all those emotions and see both sides of it, right? And like I said, like the word that I use for emotions is embrace, right? Like embrace the emotion rather than like ignore it or shove it down, because there is always there's something to learn from every situation.
Yeah. And come back to emotions with me in a second. There's just like a couple more things that I want to say about fear. So the way that human design sees fear is that it's just a lower vibration of an awareness.
Yeah.
So I like to say that you can't be afraid of something if you don't know it exists.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know, dengue fever. Don't know where that came from, but
I'm like, what the heck is that, to be honest? What?
a perfect example. I know what dengue fever is, and it is scary, but you probably are not afraid of dengue fever because you don't know what it is.
No, I'm not. All I know is I'm just like, sounds like Kung Fu with maybe some type of disease. I don't know what's happening. To be honest, it actually sounds pretty hilarious. Yeah.
So like, okay, sharks.
Okay.
If you don't know what sharks are, you can't be afraid of them.
Right.
Right. So if I have a fear of failure, that also means that I have an awareness of what will be successful.
Yeah.
Or if I'm afraid of the future, if I have the fear of the future, which I do have in my chart, that also means that I have an awareness of what the future holds.
Wow.
So
tell us. Tell us, right?
a great example of this, and I hate to bring it up because it's like all consuming for some people, but when COVID first started happening, I knew, my mom was like, oh, we'll quarantine for 3 weeks. It won't be that bad. And I was like, Mom, this is going to be a part of our life for a really long time. And she was like, you're so dramatic.
But you knew. Yeah.
But I knew. And that's one example of like,
That's
I
your
can't
chart.
be afraid of it if I don't know that it's there.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Wow. That's powerful. That is powerful. Huh.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, right?
Yeah, it is. Do you want to come back to emotion? Or I think you
Yeah,
said that there was also like, don't let us forget, there's like a third thing from your chart.
it was emotion. That's
Oh, perfect. Cool. All right, let's go there.
so just like how people either have the fear center defined in their chart or undefined, that splenic center, people also have the emotional center or the solar plexus defined or undefined.
Yeah.
You have this one defined and I do not. Everyone who has their emotional center defined has a wave of emotions like you just started talking about that is present in their daily life.
Yeah.
So sometimes you wake up and you're feeling like you're buzzing, you're excited, you're like ready to talk to all your friends, you're ready to be around people.
Yeah.
And then other days you wake up, you're a little bit more bluesy, you don't really know why.
Yeah.
It feels like there's nothing you can do about it. And that's just like the frequency that you're at that day.
Yeah. Yeah.
The good thing about this and where awareness can come into play here is that these emotional waves are very predictable. So if you start like tracking it, just like journaling, like one sentence, one word, how you're feeling that day,
Yeah.
you can see when you will be like on the up and up again, or when you can expect to like not be feeling great. But the most important part is that you'll see when you have that neutral ground, the calm, cool, and collected space
Yeah.
where it's great for you to make a decision.
Yeah. 100%. And I'm also curious too, like, we don't have to go too far on this tangent. I will tell you, I am very in tune with my emotions, like you said. And I notice, like being a female, I notice it with my cycle, right? So like those 28 days, like I know exactly, honestly, where I am in my cycle with my body based on my mood, like clockwork.
That's so interesting. I've been curious about that because I don't have that for myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. And even if you're a male on with an emotional wave, you also have a hormonal cycle. It's just a little bit
Yeah.
different than a
Yeah.
female. But yes, so when you said, this is what reminded me to talk to you about emotions a little bit more, because you said when you embrace your emotion, when you really feel it, when people say feel your feelings, this is what we mean, is to just accept that this is the way that you're feeling and lean into it and
Yeah.
know that it's not going to be forever. So just enjoy it, whatever phase, whatever cycle of your wave you're at, just
Yeah.
enjoy it and listen to what it has to offer you in that moment, because that's how you or anybody who has this center defined actually speaks to their intuition better, is when you embrace your emotional state for what it is right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, we could go into a whole thing, and like I will link it in the show notes. It's also really important too. And you know this, especially from some of the inner voice training we went through, like honestly, like the worst thing you can do is ignore your emotion, because literally like your trapped emotions live in your body, like
Yes.
emotionally and physically. And it does create a burden in your body, on your organs, on everything. And it will show up, whether it's through disease, through rashes, through like bloating, like they will show up in different ways. There's science on this, studies on this. So like, and like I said, I'll link, I recently read the Emotion Code, which is all about this, with Dr. Bradley Nelson, I believe his name is. But yeah, like I know a lot of people say like, oh, don't worry about it, it's okay, like keep going. And I want you to know that like exactly what you're saying, like you should feel it, like it's there for a reason, and just like allow it to help you rather than hinder you, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yes, I 100% agree. And most people in the world do have that center defined and completely relate to what you just said. And about a little bit less than half of us do not. And what I just said to you sounds bananas. It doesn't mean that we don't feel emotions, but it just means that like I wake up calm, cool, and collected at a very neutral point every day. I never quote unquote wake up on the wrong side of the bed. That actually, like, it used to make me so confused when people said that, because they'd be like, oh, wow, you're in a weird mood. Did you wake up on the wrong side of the bed? And I'd be like, no, A, B, C, and D happened to me. And that's why I'm irritated. Like, because my emotions are always in a response to my surroundings.
Yeah.
So when
This is wild.
when I'm absorbing other people's emotions or experiences that make me feel things, I tend to elevate them and amplify them. So like you and I being around each other, or me being around my husband again, because he has this center defined as well. I always know when he's irritated, and then I get irritated and I'm like, this feels weird. I don't know what's happening right now, but I amplify it because it feels foreign to me. And I feel like I just have to get it out of my body, right? I can't store that emotion. I don't have the capacity for it.
Yeah.
And he's like, why are you irritated? And I'm like, I'm irritated because you're irritated. And he's like, I'm not that irritated.
Oh, that's hilarious. And then the charts go around and around and around, right?
Right. So we're amplified. And this is why for my whole life, people have said that I'm dramatic because I have no control over my emotions. And I don't. They're right.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's how I'm meant to be. So
Yeah. Yeah.
be.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. So rather than like being like, what's wrong with me? This is a problem. It's being like, oh, this is okay. This is how I'm meant to be. And like, right. Just like we said, everything is temporary. So it's gonna like take its path and follow through.
Yeah. So if you have an
Yeah.
undefined emotional center and you need to go in the bathroom and cry at work, do it, because
Oh
it's
yeah.
5 minutes.
I've done it. I've done it. Everybody should do it if they need to. Oh yeah. I've done that before.
Feels great. You just
Yeah.
get the cry out and then you keep it moving, or whatever the case may be. If you're feeling angry and you feel like you need to scream, go do it.
Yeah.
And come back and you'll be back to yourself, and it's a beautiful thing. When we were going through IVFT, I had a realization. I was feeling something come up and I was in the grocery store and I cried in the grocery store, and I was like, oh, I should be embarrassed about this. And then I looked around me and nobody cared.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I know. Yeah. Because like you control you, they control them. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Good for you. You just gotta let it rip, you know?
Yeah. Let it rip. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't
So
hold it
those
in.
are the three areas that I've been like most influenced by human design, I think. And I'm so passionate about sharing it because I think it just sheds a lot of light for experiences that people have been having their whole lives and thought they were crazy or thought they were alone, and they're not.
Yeah, they're not. They're just perfectly them. They're
Yeah.
just perfectly them. Yeah. I love that. So like, who would you say this human design is for? Sounds like you're saying for everybody, but like, tell us a little bit more. Because I think that's beautiful.
Yeah, I think it's really good for people who, number one, are ready to make a change, or they're ready for a different perspective. And most of the time, those people are ready for a little bit of surrender. They're just ready for accepting themselves for who they really are.
Yeah.
Or, that also maybe comes from feeling a little bit stuck in their lives, and they know that they want to do something differently. They want to live their purpose, and things like that.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I will say for myself, I think what just really resonated when you was like felt stuck, right? For me, it was more like I knew there was something more, but I didn't know why, right? And it's almost like I was kind of like searching, like I wasn't aligned and I knew there was something there, but I just didn't know what it was. And like having the charts to almost give you like that reflection of like, oh, this is why, because this is who I am, right? And I'm not doing that in certain areas of my life. It's just, I don't know, it is such a great tool, like what you're doing and how you're changing people's lives. Like it really is like the most powerful tool people can have. It really is.
I'm so glad that you see it that way, because I do too. And I think, it doesn't resonate with everybody, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But it also can just give you, it might not be everything to you, but it could give you a little bit more clarity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or it could give you like one takeaway that you can take with you for the rest of your life. And that's good enough for me.
Yeah. 100%. Hey, I'll take it. I'll take anything I can get. Right. I'll take anything I can get. Yeah. So Gillian, like, how can people work with you? Like, because I think what you said is really crucial. Like, yes, like everybody listening, you can go out there, you can get your chart for free. And I do want people to understand, we went through very high level what the chart is today, but I do think it's crucial. Like, if you go get your chart, you're going to get your chart. And I'll be honest, gang, you're going to be extremely overwhelmed when you see your chart. Like, I remember there's colors, there's profile types, there's numbers, there's a lot, right? And while yes, Google is great and you will probably find some answers, you got to take Google with a grain of salt. And there's a lot of value, right, in getting it done by somebody that's certified like yourself. So how can people work with you if they're interested in this?
Sure. So first things first, follow me on Instagram, because I'm always sharing like little tidbits that can give you some insights into your chart, even if you don't have a reading.
Yeah.
Secondly, I do offer readings at my website, glowhumandesign.com.
Okay.
And I also have, if this is like everything to you and you got to go all in just like me, I have like a 6-week program or 6-session program. It can take as long as you want, but a 6-session program that I just launched as well. So there's many different ways we can work together for an hour. We can work together for, 6 weeks, whatever you want.
Awesome. Cool. And I'll make sure we include obviously links to all that stuff in the notes, so people have you as a resource. But before we wrap up, I want to do a quick little like final questions and have a little fun with you so that the listeners can get to know you more. So I'm going to do this based on our senses. I'm really big on this, and I'm going to ask you some questions and just tell me what comes up first. So what are you listening to right now?
I have been listening to a Red Wings podcast. I got really into ice hockey this year.
Cool. All right. Good to know. So if we've got some hockey fans out there. So what is the name of it? Is it called Red Wings Podcast?
It's called, there's two. It's The Winged Wheel and Locked on Red Wings.
All right.
Loving them.
Cool. I love it. I love it. Never know what you're going to get in this final like round, right? All right. So what are you watching right now for sight?
Like on TV?
Yeah.
The Righteous Gemstones. Also, okay. I've been watching the snow fall out my window, which has been fantastic. I have a view of the river, so I try to do some river gazing every day.
Yeah, I love it. Let's move to taste. What's your favorite food and your favorite drink right now?
My favorite food of all time ever will always be chocolate. And my favorite drink right now is this butterfly pea blueberry tea that I got. I can send you a link to that too if you want.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's really nice.
That sounds great. What's your favorite brand of chocolate, if people are wondering?
I like Hue chocolate. It's like no refined sugar, no anything, and it's like pure, really dark, lovely, delicious chocolate.
Sister, we literally just bought that and I am amazed by the brand. And I agree. We'll link to it. Like, there's no process anything it's very pure and just like delicious. So,
yeah. That's what surprised me so much. It's like decadent. Love it.
Yeah. So good. So for fellow chocolate lovers. Yeah. And then our last one, touch. So what has touched your soul recently that you want to share with everybody?
Can I say this conversation? I've been really I've been like so lit up, and it just really felt amazing to talk to you today. And also, I think any connection that we can have, but really I love a good soul tribe. And that's really been touching my heart lately. I've had some really great conversations with our community. And it's everything to me.
Yeah, I agree. I'm back at you. All right. And final question, with one piece of advice that you would like to share with everybody listening and watching today?
My piece of advice would be, don't listen to anybody else's advice unless it really resonates with you.
Yeah. And your chart. Yeah, I love it. And that's just such a perfect place, I think, just to wrap up today. So Gillian, thank you so, so much. Like, I so appreciate you coming on, sharing all your wisdom. Like I said, and I really mean it, like, talk about soul, you are a special soul, and what you're doing, and providing to people is a tool that will literally not just change them in the moment, but change them for their life. And I just really appreciate all that. And I can't wait for people to experience it with you as well.
Oh, thank you so much. I just love you.
Yeah. I love you too. Generator, right? Generator. Yeah. Virtual hug. Awesome. All right. Well, thanks everybody for watching and listening. I will include all the links below in the show notes. And Gillian, thanks for hopping on. And I hope everybody has a great day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.